All right. Yeah. Sorry, a storm just started here. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Wildcat Well. Today's guests are the hosts of the We Stand Together podcast. It's a pop culture podcast. It goes up weekly. Lauren and Caitlin, the hosts of said podcast, performed a live version of We Stand Together at our 2019 festival in Oklahoma City. It was a real treat to be able to catch up with them. So I want to keep this intro really short so you can get to the good stuff. So I'll just remind y'all to check everything down in the description for information on how to become a part of the next Theater Crude Fringe Festival, and also on how to keep up to date with everything that We Stand Together is up to. All right, enjoy. All right, hi Lauren, Caitlin. Welcome to the Wildcat Well. It's a crazy name, but people will catch on eventually.
I'm into it.
Love it.
What have you guys been up to?
Oh, we've been staying busy with the podcast version of the live show. We Stand Together. We're a little over a year old now, and we've been doing a weekly show nonstop.
Yeah, we have over 50 episodes, most of which we recorded in quarantine remotely. So it was a learning curve, an amazing time to launch a podcast, but it has been, I think, totally like our saving grace this whole time of keeping us sane as far as organized and something to look forward to. And we get to talk to our friends and cool people. We have an excuse.
Do you guys frequently have guests on your show, or is it usually just
every week?
Every week.
Every week we have a new guest, and we build the show around. Sometimes we've gotten, as the months have gone on, we've been less and less. We've realized we've been less and less likely to let the guests know what the topic is ahead of time. We've sort of been choosing stuff that we just think that the guests will have fun with, or we know. Like, that's been our whole thing this whole time, is like, we want to create an hour of programming that's really fun for the guests, and then hopefully for the listeners too. So we've been diving into all sorts of silly pop culture topics.
Do you have a favorite topic you've covered recently?
They're all our children, but at the end of last year, we did an episode about Mariah Carey that coincided with the release of her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, which we read, and we had Matt Rogers from Las Culturistas on, and we really dissected that thing. I think we got to the bottom of a lot of her issues and ours, frankly.
Yeah, I am truly so committed. I'm dedicating my life to getting her a Kennedy Center honors. I really believe it needs to happen, and if it doesn't, I can't even think about what would happen, because it will. It has to. She's earned it.
Yeah, you don't have to do much. It'll happen. Yeah,
no, it'll happen.
We've also been doing live streaming shows. We've probably done 5 or 6 of those over quarantine, with themes ranging from Christmas in July, way back when, to National We Stand Together Day, to we did a show 2 weeks ago dedicated to the NBC primetime drama Sisters, which is long forgotten, but a core niche audience still stands.
Yeah, and the live stream shows are only able to happen because the amazing Rodney Brazil has been producing, which one of the truly the glue that's holding those live streams together. But that's been one, it's been a hard year of feeling disconnected from people, but the nice thing has been getting to collaborate with like friends and other artists that you wouldn't normally get to collaborate with. With Rodney being there in Oklahoma City and us here in New York, it's been really exciting to be like, oh, we can build art together from a distance. This is cool. This is something we haven't thought about in this way before. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, I'm sure all of our live streams have involved a minimum 4 states, but more often.
Yeah, we've had people logging in from everywhere, from Oklahoma City to Lake Conneaut in Pennsylvania to Los Angeles to God only knows where. I'm not sure. We had Marsha Stephanie Blake on the show, and I think she was somewhere deep in remote Colorado at the time.
Where she did not want us to know her.
She didn't disclose. And we didn't want to push.
But yes, Rodney is great. He's a live streaming expert. I did catch your New Year's stream your Ghost of New Year's Future.
Oh, that was Rodney's show. Yeah, that was so fun, Rodney. Yeah, that was getting to work with Next Stage on that New Year's Eve show. It was so fun.
Yeah, what was that process like? Did he approach you? Did you call him up and say, we've got something that we want to do?
That was all him. That was all him. We just jumped in. Yeah, it's just been a fun year of, as we've all had, it's been a fun year of having different projects and being like, oh, we can call each other. And I know Rodney was in a sketch that Caitlin wrote for an event at the Squirrel Theater recently too. So that's been cool. Yeah, just sort of realizing that we're not, even though we might feel limited by being on our screens, the screens actually allow us like the permission to cross state lines much easier.
Right. So, well, like putting together that sketch, once I decided to do it and then I cast actors, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe now I have to do this. That means I have to edit it and put together the graphics and make sure everyone, okay. But then like, you know what? It wasn't that hard. It came together.
Yeah, we're all becoming video editing experts in this pandemic age, I guess.
It is strange. I am better. Expert would be a rough word, but I am much better now.
It's been a great time to be a creative because we've had lots of opportunities to get creative and I think like, yeah, I was saying this, you know, even with my students, you know, sometimes I'm always so enamored of my students who can look at the situation and just be like, okay, yeah, but here's what we can do instead of lamenting what we can't do. And I feel like that's been really lovely this year, is so many people being like, okay, I see what's limiting, but like, how do we make that work?
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm teaching a comedy class for the Squirrel Theater on Zoom. And right now, my students are still mostly tri-state based, but there's a Boston student, there's LA, and it's kind of cool because it's not just like diversity in the sense of like where people come from. It's like right now so people can, you know, share what different comedy communities are doing. And it's like a class, but also like a conference too, in some ways.
Do you think this reaching out across your specific neighborhood into other states for artist collaboration is going to continue? Or do you think everyone, once we can get out of our homes, going to say, I'm done with that computer and never want to see it again?
It's such an interesting question. And I definitely don't know for sure, because I've gotten so much benefit out of doing things this way, and I really appreciate it. But, you know, if you have, for instance, if knock on wood, theaters come back to New York, you know, if you have even a weekly show that you really have to move physical tickets for, I do think that's just going to start to get your energy, not because it's more important, but just because like you have to deliver on that in the way. And like for Lauren and I, we've never done paid shows. You know, our shows are free streaming. So it's never been like a business issue for us. But I think if something were to come into conflict with that, unfortunately, you might see it start to recede a little. But I'm certainly hopeful that things will continue like this, because it's just so easy. It's so easy to support your friends, and you can even be 2 or 3 minutes late, and you're like, oh wait, I forgot that show was happening. Now I'm watching it. Whereas if that happens when it's a live in-person show, you're like, well, I missed it.
Yeah, I certainly hope that it's a hybrid model moving forward. That like, I think when when we realize it's an option and not necessity, I think it might even be embraced more. But it's like, obviously I can't wait to be back in a physical space with people. And like, I think like we're like itching to do our live show version so bad.
Yeah.
But it is really, really cool to also like some of our really good friends are in LA, and it's been like, oh, we can book them on our show because it's all online. Like, that's awesome.
Right. And it is, you know, I was talking to my students about this. I was talking about the Amber Ruffin show specifically, and how it's on Peacock, and then now it's also live after Seth. I'm not sure permanently or how that's going to work, but if you're at 1:30 a.m. or you're on Peacock, The bad news is it's not easily just broadcast into every single person's home. The good news is people that are watching it are finding it. They're looking for it to see you. So you have some of the smarter fans. While you don't have as many, you have people who are there because they want to be seeing that type of content. And I think the same with streaming. I mean, it's awesome. It's so exciting to think about doing a show in like the East Village or something, but some of that is going to be comedy fans and some of that's going to be people that like wanted a beer and this is a show that's happening. The thing is, I miss those people too, but it's just it's a trade-off.
Yeah, it certainly is. I know discoverability is a thing that people talk about a lot with online because there is so much content at any given moment that you need to know what you're looking for in order to find it.
Yeah. But then like when we did our sisters live stream 2 weeks ago, the day before the show, a friend of mine was like, did you know there's like a Facebook group of like hardcore sisters fans? And I was like, no. And like, I dropped the link to the show and like, a bunch of them came and then we were connecting with them and I was like, well, this is cool. I would have like, I think the woman was, I want to say I don't know why, I think she was in Michigan or something, but I was like, oh, she couldn't have like day before bought a ticket and flown to New York if we were doing this at UCB, but she can just be like, hey, I'll drop in. Like, I don't know, that was cool. That sort of like finding it's been fun finding like minds and tribes.
Right. And that's a fun one too, because Sisters is like a show that's like a total soapy drama. You know, we didn't know, like, are the fans of that show going to like that we're going to do a lighthearted show about it? I mean, the show came from love. We legitimately love this, but we're going to make fun of some of the characters, some of the plot points. The fact that George Clooney's character was named Falconer is something we will be making fun of, even though we love it. And is that audience going to be like, oh, we don't like you, changing up the way we appreciate it? Seemed like they loved it, but you don't know. There's that moment where it's like, it's their sacred cow. So yeah, how are they going to respond? But it's like, they seem to really like it.
Is that the type of thing you're concerned about whenever for your weekly podcast as well? When you come across topics, are you worried that you're going to insult somebody's favorite thing when you make a lighthearted joke about how potentially ridiculous it is?
I definitely don't worry about it moment to moment, but it has occurred to me, like there are, there's fan groups that can sort of intentionally misinterpret things. But I think if it's a podcast and you have to listen to it in context, I think you can understand the whole thing. I think like tweets and stuff like that get out of context very quickly because there's just not that much to it. Mm-hmm. But we love it when like a friend of mine will say like, Lauren was so wrong about whatever, and vice versa. It's like, we love that they care to say.
Yeah. That's like one of my favorite things when someone like slides into our DMs and they're like, actually, here's a link to an article about this thing you said. And I'm like, tell me more, please. It's great. We love, I think that's the thing is like anything we do, we try to lead with positivity and like do all things in love, like all the time anyways. So I think that like when your intentions are, when you're coming from a like kind-hearted space, I'm not too worried about that stuff because it's like you either get it or you don't. And like we even had, oh my goodness, it was a couple weeks ago, I posted some joke about like the Real Housewives or something on Instagram or something, or Caitlin. It was a TikTok Caitlin made. That's what it was. Caitlin made a TikTok and I posted it, and somebody found it and like got really upset about it. And I wrote back and I was like, well, this is like a joke. And she was like, well, and we had like a whole back and forth. And by the end of it, she was like, I'm so sorry, I get it now. And like, thanks for chatting. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Come back soon. Like, and that was like so fun.
Yeah, building bridges. Like, that's great.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna chat with this lady who's like really mad about something that she found because she follows this hashtag. That's a fun use of like a half hour.
Yeah. What else are you gonna do when you're locked in your apartment, I guess?
Exactly.
Build live stream shows and teach 100 improv classes a week.
That seems like a pretty intense lifestyle. 100 improv classes a week.
Maybe not quite 100, but I'm teaching. I teach at 3 different schools, so I've been teaching a lot. A lot more because when you're not commuting, you can just teach throughout the day.
Oof.
What's that like teaching improv over an online format?
It's interesting. It really depends on the group. Some groups like totally are like, cool, I'm just gonna like embrace it and we do amazing things. And other groups get a little stuck in their head and they're like, I'm looking at my computer and this feels dumb. But when you can get everyone to like really say yes and just play, it's fun. It's just it's been cool. I've taught improv, I've taught scene study, I've taught public speaking, I've taught new media creation and production, and I've taught like a couple of other like workshops. And like in the past year, it's pretty much anything that's on my CV that I'm like qualified to teach, I've somehow managed to teach during the quarantine on a computer. And they've all had their pros and cons and twists and turns. But again, one of the coolest things is like sometimes like right now I have students that are like in Africa and in Beijing, and like I'm like, can you take me on a tour? And I'm like, cool, your backyard looks awesome. France looks cool right now. So that stuff's cool.
All of your classes are online? Are you also teaching hundreds of classes a week?
No, not at all. I have a very anemic schedule compared to Lauren. I'm only teaching one class right now. I'm teaching late night and sketch comedy writing for the Squirrel Theater, which has been super fun. It's my first time teaching this type of course. So I'm learning the syllabus too, and I'm sort of trying to, like, even though I know what I'm doing in theory, I'm trying to kind of relearn it with the students, and it's fun. It's really just, it's fun to re-examine these shows. I don't know, there's something about it, like we watch some clips from now, and they are honestly kind of a bummer because there's no audience, and it's a little weird, but we go back into the archives and watch old ones, and it's like exciting to think that hopefully within this year we'll get back to those levels of having audiences laughing, because it is live theater. That's what I love about late night shows, is it's live theater taped, and they edit out like 2 minutes. I mean, it's really just seeing a live comedy show and a sketch show and a music show, and that's what's really fun to me about it.
I've sort of been enjoying seeing some of the late night hosts get back into a studio, like with their band. And
yes,
when they can make that band laugh that have to put up with their shtick every single night. Totally. That just brings me so much joy.
I agree. And some of them have some scattered audience members back and some do not. Amber Ruffin will be really interesting to watch develop because she's been born of quarantine. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see when the audience gets back. I think it'll be really exciting. But then conversely, like Seth Meyers has started just like talking to his writers, and there's something beautiful about like just we're peering in on a staff meeting that's being aired. I love it.
Fair enough. I always want to just have I just always want to feel like I'm watching something that they forgot to turn the camera off for. That's the vibe I want.
Dress rehearsal feel, but I mean that in the best possible way, where it's
I love it.
Still having fun here.
I am obsessed with how all the different like live shows have dealt with the audiences. My favorite is that the Masked Singer spent like millions of dollars creating CGI audiences.
Necessary.
The amount of money spent on those fake audience members is just the best thing in the entire world.
Well, and aren't some of them like the image of audience members from like seasons 1 through 3?
Yeah, it's
those people getting paid.
It's this weird combination of like old footage, CGI, and then I think they do have like some staff scattered around to like create. No, I don't know. I'm obsessed. It's the most complicated thing, but it's so beautiful. That shows a real work of art.
Absolutely.
We stand.
Have you been watching The Masked Dancer as well then?
I haven't consistently watched it.
It doesn't, for me, I love Craig Robinson. As a host, I'm here for Craig. The rest of it, not as much fun. Not as much fun. He's great. He should be hosting. I want to see him in that role more. The rest of it, we don't need. Like a one and done Christmas special, that could have been fun.
Right.
We don't need multiple episodes. Do it in one night.
I suppose it's a little bit more difficult to play a guessing game just off of somebody's body movement as opposed to their voice.
Yeah. It just feels less fun and a little more creepy.
All right. Good to
not
know.
not my favorite. But I say this as a hardcore Masked Singer fan who has a Masked Singer sweatshirt, blanket, mat,
Tattoo.
restraining order. No. That is pending.
Well, I did get into that Masked Singer after your visit to Oklahoma City back in 2019, and you guys talked about it in your show. It's like this sounds like the type of thing I just need to check out now. So
We spread the gospel.
I have to say this is maybe my favorite part about what we do as We Stand is finding out how we have caused people to then go and watch stuff. Like recently did an episode about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and we asked one of the comedians we asked to be on it, our friend Lita. We were asking everyone about their journeys, like, how did you get involved in watching the show? What drew you to it? And Lita was like, it was you guys. You were talking about it on your last live stream, and so I started watching it, and I was like, wow, thank you so much. Like, I feel like we're doing the work. Thank you. Thanks for joining the stand-up with us. So fun.
I'm always looking for recommendations. So if you got anything right now that I'd absolutely need to check out.
Well, I feel like I've really pulled Caitlin down into the...
Yeah, you've pulled me lower than I've ever been.
I have been obsessed with Married at First Sight, like deeply, deeply. I have an illness, like a true illness, and I kept talking about it, and so finally dragged Caitlin down. And you've now caught up and are on the current season.
On the current season, yeah.
Yeah, but you've watched an entire season in like 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm proud.
12 episodes that are definitely almost 2 hours
long. There's a lot of great content out there right now. I gotta say, God bless streaming. We never really ran out of anything during quarantine. I've watched everything.
As far as comedies, I love Stath Lets Flats. It's on HBO Max. It's British. It has the female lead from What We Do in the Shadows is on the show with her real life brother playing her brother. And they're just very funny, just very simple. They're just trying to rent apartments, but they're bad at it.
Hey, I've been all over the place with what I've been watching, but at the beginning of quarantine, Caitlin got me into Kim's Convenience on Netflix, which sadly, the most recent season they just announced is going to be their final season. It's airing right now in Canada. We don't have it yet in the US, but I'm anxiously awaiting that last season. We also just finished our other favorite show, which is Call My Agent, a French series on Netflix. That just had its series finale. Call My Agent is one of the most, and this is like truly good. This is not just like pop culture junk food. Like Call My Agent is incredible acting. It's one of the best written shows, one of the best acted shows. And it ended perfectly, but I'm still devastated that there's not going to be more episodes because I could have watched that show forever.
Yeah, that's an absolute high rec. I would rewatch it in a second. I just haven't. I don't know why.
Yeah, probably because you watched 12 hours of Married at First Sight.
I wish it was 12 hours, 12 episodes. That means it was like 18 hours. And the season's not over. You dared to draw me into a season that is not complete, which I didn't really quite realize when I started.
That's okay. That's why I'm watching simultaneously season 5 and the current season. But Call My Agent, very, very good. So good. So wonderful. I love it. Oh, man. What a great time. There's so much great TV out there. You know what I'm saying? What have you been watching?
I've actually been working through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was a boat that I missed way back in the day. And then suddenly I found myself with a whole bunch of time and went, hey, you know what? I think I could watch 24 movies or however many there are, plus all the new TV series that they've got coming out. Actually know what's going on in WandaVision. Someday I'll get there.
I have no idea what's happening, but I watched WandaVision and it was lovely, even though I have no idea about the Marvel Universe. But it was stylistically very cool.
Nice.
And Paul Bettany is just wonderful. Love him. We'll watch him in anything. And Randall Park. So many people we love.
So many people.
So many people.
Paul Bettany, seeing his face always makes me want to watch Knight's Tale.
Yes.
It's just one of my favorite movies of all time.
Wimbledon, one of the most underrated romances of all time, with a great cameo from James McAvoy. You love it. You love to see it.
I will eviscerate you in fiction. One of my favorite lines of any movie. I like to
my goodness.
myself to my enemies.
That should be your motto. Just get it printed. You should get it printed on like a sweatshirt.
There should be merch with that quote. We've messed up as a society if there's not.
Well, we can, the amazing artist who does all of our artwork for We Stand Together, Mike DeFrancisco at the Compass Rose, we're going to have to get him to do a Knight's Tale line.
A mission.
Yeah.
I could be a patron of the arts.
You could be a patron of the arts.
I'm a patron of the mugs and sweatshirts.
We all need more of those.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
The rate I destroy them.
It's kind of amazing. As I'm packing, I'm realizing it's amazing how many mugs a person can collect in their lifetime.
I have so many mugs, and I'm an anti-pack rat. I don't like having a lot of stuff around, but mugs are something that I just always be like, yeah, I need another one. I'm never throwing any out. They're all precious.
They are. They stay until they take their own lives. You can't take their life for them.
That scares me too.
I know. But you have to let them live their own journey. You're not in control. The mugs are in control.
I have a Grey's Anatomy mug that Lauren got me that said, "You're my person." And it has like a weird shape. It makes like a heart. So the disadvantage is you don't get really a full cup of coffee. I have a Dolly and Kenny mug that my friend Debbie got me. There's a lot of great things happening in there.
Love a mug. Wow. This is what a journey we've gone on during this conversation,
Yeah. That's
Who knew
what
we
I
were going to
love.
end up talking about mugs?
Yeah. That's what I love about this. This is so great. I love that you guys were willing to come out and just talk to me for a while. And
We love it.
enjoy
Yeah,
their lives.
Yeah, we had so much fun. We've talked about this several times during quarantine. We were so glad that we came out and got to do the Theater Crude Festival when we did, because we were like, who knew how long it would be before you could be around people like that? And what a joyful, wonderful time we had.
Right. And it was our first show outside of New York, and the audience was so amazing. And I think it really gave us confidence moving forward to build our podcast and everything, because we knew that there were people outside of New York that would love our comedy. And it was unclear whether New Yorkers did. But the Theater Crude audience were great.
Yeah. So remind people here as we reach the end of our time, how can they find your podcast? Where can everyone go?
So our podcast is called We Stand Together. We're on the More Banana Network, and we're pretty much on every platform. You can find us on Apple, Megaphone, Spotify, all of the streaming platforms. And then we're also on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. We Stand Social. So we're always up to all kinds of antics there. And you can also email us, westandsocial@gmail.com. That's more just if you want to, pen pal. We really like pen pals. We also have a book club you can join, which has been so much fun during, that's been a great saving grace during quarantine too. Read different pop culture adjacent books each month. So this month, we did read a pilot for the unaired Cagney and Lacey reboot that was shelved.
As one does. We also have an improv show coming up on April 14th with the Squirrel Theater. It's called Reunion Show.
Nice.
Yeah, Reunion Show is an improv show where we all say we embrace the fact we're on Zoom, and then we make an excuse for why all these people are logging into the same Zoom reunion. Last month we did high school reunion. This month, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
How far out beforehand do you figure out what sort of excuse you're going to do, or is that part of the improv?
We usually do. We did it a couple weeks ahead of time because we use it as part of the promo, but we we'll lock it down soonish, maybe next week. I don't know.
Yeah, probably next week, because
Yeah.
I'll edit the theme that our friend Doug Wydick was kind enough to write us a theme song, and I edited together with some images of us and stuff, but the last image is always going to change based on what it is, so I'll have to whip that up. Maybe in iMovie or another program.
Hey, you can't go wrong with iMovie if you already know how to use it. Saving you some time.
Yeah. Like a different font.
Unless you want a different font, or you don't want your
like,
computer to just like, yeah. Or if you don't want to waste like hours because the program's just going to shut down and not save anything, you know.
It doesn't want to be operating. It's fine.
It's cool. Listen, iMovie's had a hard year too.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm on vacation.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's where people can come hang out with us on the internet. Come listen to the podcast.
Great.
We love it. Slide into our DMs. Talk pop culture with us.
Yeah. I'm so glad you guys organized your social to a single handle. We Stand Social. I remember 2 years ago, there were like 5 different names everywhere.
Yeah, there were several. And then a dear friend of ours who's a social media strategy person was like, but what if? And we were like, interesting point. Yeah.
Nice.
Took a while to figure out. Yeah. Make it much more simple. Well, this is great.
Yes.
Yeah, it was so nice to catch up with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you guys for chatting. Yeah, we're sort of at the end of our time here. So this is the awkward moment where I don't really actually know how to say goodbye. So thanks for being on the show.
Of course.
I think that's a great goodbye. Thanks.
All right.